So, Pete, let's switch gears a little bit because I want to talk about this, a couple of these lists here about breakout players. So both 247 and ESPN did like kind of like every team sleeper, or who's the breakout player kind of thing. And they had some interesting choices. The 247 one was really interesting because they went through like their sources for that were like personnel departments, opposing teams. So it was probably a little more legit. But let's start with ESPN because this is a player that we're talking about safety. This is a guy I think we should talk about. So ESPN, who has us ranked 21st, which again, I don't think that's where we're going to land in the rankings, but we'll see. They have us as our sleeper, Zechariah Poyser. What they say is, you may have heard of Poyser, one of the top available players in the transfer portal this past season, but he should still be considered a sleeper because the impact he is projected to have in his first year with the Hurricanes. 6'2", 190 pounds. First 2 seasons at Jacksonville State, earning freshman All-America honors as a redshirt freshman this past season, which I don't think we talk about enough. Him and O.J. Frederick, freshman All-America, plus Lucas, who was right there. And Ethan O'Connor was a candidate. 75 tackles, 3 picks. His addition gives the Hurricanes an instant upgrade at safety where they struggled at times last season. Talk about an understatement. Miami made other additions at defensive back on the portal, but safety was the most glaring need, and it appears to be filled. Yeah, Pete, I think with Poyser, Georgia wanted this guy to replace Malachi Starks. I saw him in spring. Length. He's not Sean Taylor size, but he's got good size, good length. He can cover the slot. He's pretty physical. He's not, again, not Sean Taylor, like decapitates you, but he's not afraid to tackle at all. And he's got just nice twitch and athleticism. Former receiver, former basketball player in high school, late bloomer. I like this guy. Originally from the Ocala area near the Villages. What's your feeling on Zechariah Poyser expectation?
So just in general, D, when I watch safeties, or at least highlights, or guys, from the portal that we're looking at and stuff like that, or even high school prospects, when I watch safeties and most of their stuff is, which we look at a guy like Jacoby Thomas, we understand there's certain players that's their role and they're bringing a tackling, a physicality element. But I worry when I see highlights that are all up near the line of scrimmage, them just making plays against the run. Because that usually means that they aren't being used in coverage because they can't cover very, very well. That's not in their skill set, right? Because every defensive coordinator is looking for guys who can cover. In today's era, the way that teams spread you out and there's all these different sorts of weapons. The amount of clips and coverage that Poyser has is really encouraging to me. This is a guy, and then from seeing it in person, lanky but twitched up, right? So he has the body type to be able to stay and run with some of these guys down the field, right? I don't know that sometimes these guys they're too rocked up. They're too bulky to really stick with a lot of these receivers or tight ends or whatever you want to call these weapons that the safeties have to really cover most of the game. So to me, that's the most encouraging sign, is that you have a guy who has, I think, the speed and the coverage instincts and range to make it happen out there. Because Cam Kitchens had that, but I think he's got more athleticism than Cam does.
Cam was a better ball hawk. I think Poyser's just a better cover guy. Mm-hmm. To your point, Pete, because I think it's dead on, is the length and the lankiness. I want to say it was against Louisville. I watched one.
Yeah, downfield.
Yeah, and I watched one of Poyser's games. I guess it was Louisville, and watched the whole game, and watched a couple of his games actually, Louisville, and I forgot the other one. But both downfield, he's able to use his ability to run and just his length to kind of get in the way. And then also at the goal line, you mentioned kind of those rocked up body types. If you're covering a tight end and they throw it away from you and the tight end extends and the ball's placed properly by the quarterback, what are you going to do? He's just going to extend and grab it over you. Whereas Poyser, and I saw this, I'm trying to remember what game it was, but they went after him in the goal line and he's able to get around and deflect the ball because of his length. So you really can't pass around him like you would with a squattier type of safety.
He's got flexibility. He's got flexibility to his game.
Absolutely. So I think he's not going to be Kitchens as far as, and he got a couple picks, but he's not Kitchens as far as, just constant ball hawking. But he can do that. 3 interceptions last year. He can cover. He can tackle. I think he's just a guy that he's just solid everywhere. And I think he looks, to me, when I see him, I like his attitude. He strikes me as, this is going to be an NFL safety. Is it going to be just a Kenny Phillips that you say, wow? I don't know, but I do think more so than guys we've had recently, aside from Kitchens, who was so good at what he was good at. I think this is an NFL type safety. Certainly something we didn't have last year.
I would agree with that. Wholeheartedly.
So another kind of breakdown here that we saw was from 247 and their sort of sleepers in the ACC. And I like this list because this list was done by personnel guys, people in the league that's their job, is to look at who the best players are to potentially break out in the conference. So for Miami, no surprise here, Jordan Lyle. And here's what they wrote. Based on the current buzz coming out of Miami, don't be surprised if Jordan Lyle ends up being one of the Hurricanes' top overall players this season. The feedback on Lyle's been strong throughout the offseason after the 6'1", 190, and I think that's out of date. We're talking about this guy's a big bag, man. He ran for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an average of 7.4 yards per carry last year. Here's a source. Again, this is a personnel guy, not Miami, in the ACC on Jordan Lyle. All-around back, combo of speed and power, great vision and instincts. I think it's a pretty good evaluation. He's an all-around back, and he's somebody that I think if he jumped in the portal and teams were trying to get him to jump, I promise you, Alabama, for one. If a team like Alabama were to try to pry this guy out of the portal, you're talking about highly ranked, huge money. Teams would be jumping over themselves for a guy that averaged 7.4 yards a carry as a freshman with his physical dimensions.
Yeah, I think the feeling around the building is he's, as you understand, there's going to be Mark Fletcher's going to be involved, Sharmar Brown's going to be involved, but I think the feeling is this is running back one for Miami. We saw glimpses of it last year, and his role expanded throughout the season, but with this full off season now in front of him, he's because remember he wasn't here last spring, right? So he got a late start as it was, and now he has the confidence after getting his feet wet last year. We saw the game-breaking speed. He's he's the total package, right? There's not really a part of his game where you say, I wish he did that a little bit better. At least we haven't seen that yet. In terms of limitations to his game, I think he has the long speed. He's got the toughness to run between the tackles, the size. He's got hands, can block, willing to block. Right, I think there's always room for improvement there. But
good pass protector.
Total, and that's what got him on the field early. From what I understand, is his understanding of the pass pro. And I mean, they trusted him at times as a third down back last year, right? So that shows you he had the belief in him from the team and the coaches. And bottom line, I know you've heard the same. Cam Ward was not easy on the young guys, right? Like he wasn't gonna be little softer on them to bring them along. Like if they weren't ready, like you're on your own. So Lyle was ready to go.
100%. Some good comments here. So TJ Preble saying Jordan Lyle is the key to a playoff berth. Richie Orlando saying, I think Isaac Brown is nice, but Lyle would have put up those numbers too if he was at Louisville. And then Kyle kind of brings it home, which is what I've been trying to say, is that running back room looks like what Alabama and Georgia have had for the last 10 years from a physical standpoint. I'm a big believer. The college game and the NFL, there's a lot of overlap. The two biggest differences, I would say, is in pros, it's all about the quarterback. College, quarterback's obviously very important, but and you saw Cam Ward this year. He didn't make the playoff. If you have the quarterback that's by far the best in the country like Cam Ward was last year, you're making the playoffs in the pros, unless he's hurt, right? So it's just different in terms of the reliance on quarterback. That's number one. Number two, the importance of physical dominance. I don't think in the pros, yes, you have the Eagles who are physically dominant. Obviously, you saw what happened there. But it's a lot harder to be physically dominant, whereas in the college, because of the way you recruit, you can be physically dominant over your opponent. There's enough of a gap, whereas in the pros, they're all pros. They're all pretty strong and physical. Look at Alabama and Georgia over the last 20 years, really. Consistently strong and physical. Sometimes they're super explosive. Sometimes they're not in terms of running receivers and stuff like that, quarterback. But they always, on offense, can run when you know they're going to run. You know Alabama and Florida are going to, or Georgia are going to run. When Michigan won their championship, you know they're going to run. They can still run it on you. And I think we look at Miami's running back room. Lyle, whoever measured him at 190, I mean, he's nowhere near 190. The guy is a specimen when you see him in person. Fletcher is even bigger than he looks on TV. Fletcher is enormous. I mean, 6'2", like 225 if he's on a diet, and looks good. Marty Brown has impressed people physically. You reported that in the work, Pete. 220 type guy. So physically, I just think we can. Plus Elijah Lofton, who I think is the best running back on the team, probably if you got a chance, he's 240. So you have a lot of backs that can really power you, overpower you, wear you down. That's what Miami did last year. And I think that running game where you never lost yardage, you converted everything. You were getting top 5 in the nation in yards per carry without the 70-yard touchdowns all the time. That makes your offense so much better. And that's why Miami had the best offense in the country, along with Cam Ward, who had the 50th ranked offense at Washington State. You put a quarterback of that caliber with the power running game, you're number one. So I think that comment by Kyle about Georgia, Alabama, I think Miami wants to build up to that with the physicality up front.
Yeah, Kyle says Lyles around 210. I've heard. I was going to say he's got to be 205, 210 range.
He just looks good. I mean, like, one thing that I've being around more, and I've been going to Green Tree my whole life, basically. And like one thing you pick up on over time, and you see how coaches think, and the eyeball test with football players and the physical is so important. They're not all built like all the weights that you see in a media guide, even how they look on TV. Seeing someone in person
don't stack up the same. They don't stack up the same at all.
It's and you do it from when you were an agent trying to find players and talking to scouts and kind of seeing that. I mean, how much of it is just you look at somebody and say, okay, that one?
I mean, it's a lot of it. I mean, look, they've got to show something, right, once they get on the field. But in terms of player evaluations and what you want in your building, yes, it has to look a certain way.
And I think Lyle and Fletcher really, and I'm looking forward to seeing Marty Brown here, are guys that when you see him, it's a huge difference. 352. Do we have any backs with a vision and great feel like AJ Allen does? I mean, look at AJ Allen was good, but I think we have part of the reason our running game. And we've talked about this before.
Wear people down, man.
Wear people down. Take what's there. Do not take losses. So yes, you don't see these guys necessarily being as patient as other backs waiting for the big play. But that's because they're always getting 4 or 5 yards, pounding people and setting up the offense to never have a 2nd and 12. I mean, how often did we have 2nd and 12? Period. And certainly not because of a run. It was all about positive yards and wearing guys down and then busting big plays at the end. That was the formula, and look, the formula was the best offense in the country. Of course, you had Cam Ward, but Cam Ward did not have anywhere near that kind of offense in Washington State, even though we had Kyle Williams, who's a higher drafted receiver than any of our guys by far. So, he had Josh Kelly, who's a 1,000-yard type receiver in Texas Tech. So it's this physical running game is, I think, worth more than what people say. And Jordan Lyle's the one that, if any of these guys are going to be like elite type draft pick types, I think Jordan Lyle's the one, day 1, day 2. And then, of course, you look down, JoJo Trader. So I don't think this is a surprise, Pete, on the breakout list. And here's what they say. With JoJo Trader's talent and Miami losing its top 4 receivers from last season, the class of 2024 top 70 overall recruit is positioned for a year 2 breakthrough. 6 foot 190 or 180. Trader played in 7 games as a freshman and posted 6 catches, including 3 for 61 yards and a touchdown against Iowa State in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Smooth and crafty, a source says. Strong hands. Think Justin Jefferson play style. I don't know if he has the physical strength of a Justin Jefferson, but definitely somebody who, has smoothness to him.
DM, I don't know if you can catch why I'm smiling right now.
Oh, here you go. Hunter Meyer. D Money with the Cuban propaganda that we wanted Lopez. We didn't prioritize him at all. I mean, look, Hunter Meyer, I appreciate the comment. I mean, I'm not just saying these things because I believe him or I read him somewhere.
Or that you're Cuban.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. But I think I have an idea of who's getting prioritized. I mean, look at some of the people we deal with and some of the things I'm doing. I mean, just read between the lines here. But yeah, we wanted Lopez. Don't let him tell you differently. You could hear different stuff. I mean, I've seen guys that I know we prioritize, then they go elsewhere, and you might hear an assistant coach say, "Yeah, I don't want him anyways." We prioritize Jason Lopez. Trust me. But I think he saw Spafford. He didn't like that, and maybe the basketball team didn't prioritize him the same way FSU's basketball team prioritized him. But
I've
football
been
wise,
saying that for the longest, man. I really think that was a big part of it.
and the Cuban propaganda. I mean, the last time I heard Cuban propaganda was Mendoza, when people were telling me he was another Emery, and now I see him getting paid millions of dollars to play quarterback, and everybody has him on draft lists. So whatever. And then Restrepo was not even Cuban, but I heard Hispanic propaganda when people were telling me that he was only getting targets because he was TVD's roommate. So, and I was talking about Restrepo too much. So whatever. Apparently Castellanos is Cuban. You're not going to hear any Cuban propaganda on that one. The guy stinks.
I think I saw he was born in Miami.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Well, I won't hype him up. He sucks. TJ Preble saying Kevin Clark hosting Feinbaum this week. Some national love coming. Kevin Clark's the man. That's our guy. Looking forward to seeing what he's got cooking there for the Feinbaum show. He's the best in the business. I mean, diehard Canes fan. He could tell you every name that we're talking about right now. Kevin Clark is a huge Miami guy. Like, to the recruiting, we're in the group chat. We've had him on this show a couple times. Got to get him back on before the season.
And there's no bigger fan of Trenton Breeze.
He respects the talent. His wife won a Pulitzer Prize. Shout out to Emily Glazer for the Wall Street Journal. So he respects journalistic talent, and he sees it with our man Breeze, the deodorant. Well asking who starts at left guard if we're going run heavy. McCoy's not your best run blocker. Hoping Tommy Kinsler takes it. Why not? I think McCoy's got that, and he's going to be pretty legit at that position. Over 1,100 on, man. Like and subscribe. Pete, we're getting here to the 58-minute mark. I know you got to talk about a blue chipper that is joining Miami's program. Who I'm excited. We talked about him a bit, but I know you haven't